Hi guys, thanks for making it on time today. How's it everyone going? How's it going for everyone? Sorry. Good evening guys, good evening. क्या लग रहा है आज इंडिया मैच जीतेगी? ना टाइट तो है. करेक्ट. ओके, तो चलो हम लोग फिर स्टार्ट करते हैं. आई थिंक द वीडियोस are going to be there for people who are not going to join today. ओके, तो हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे लास्ट टाइम? लेट्स गो टेक अ लुक. We were working on our application. We started understanding how React works. हमने उसका local development server create किया था, and we also started seeing how we can use a component inside a component, right? So, and we started with a class-based component, and we also created a functional-based components, right? So at the moment, I will remove all the unnecessary files that I have over here. So I won't need any of these CSS. This is all predefined CSS that comes as a part of our application. Now here, I'm going to select all the unnecessary files, which I'm not going to use. कोई भी styling कुछ नहीं use करेंगे. And I'm going to delete them. Now setup test is also something that we don't need right now. We are not testing anything. So index app.js, index.css कुछ predefined style है, उसको रखेंगे. And then I will keep this. Now web vitals are something which is very important for the performance of the website. और इसके पहले इसको service workers बोलते थे, if you guys have used it. But the newer version has called it web vitals, and they have come up with new code. And we are going to leave it over here because that is something that is required. यहाँ पे देख रहे हो. And it also says if you want to start measuring performance in your app, pass a function to log results, something like this, or send analytics endpoints. So this is more related to the performance of the website, and that has been taken care by React itself. All right. So at the moment, we have understood how to create a class-based component, how to create a functional component, how to use a prop to pass the data to it. And we have done that. So let's trigger this particular dev server, which is this. Let's go inside my first app, and I will say npm start. By the way, is everyone able to install React in their system? Any problems occurring? Abhishek को एक problem आ रही थी अभी देखा, which got resolved, I guess. So you might face a lot of problem like that in future. So just try your hands. See. Okay. All right. So let's. So I've started the dev server, and it will be up in any moment right now. Just give me a second. My system is a bit stuck. All right. Voice कम आ रही है? Okay. Do you want me to add the microphone? Let me go ahead and add the microphone. I haven't added the microphone. Just give me a second. Okay, is it better? Is it better for you guys now? All right, sounds good. Cool. So what we will do now is my development server is up and running, and I'll just put it over here. And it says there is some issue with my code, and obviously because I'm using a dynamic name, which is not defined. I have commented it out, and it shows me the error as well as for all the other parameters. So if I just go ahead and uncomment this, all the names that I have used already, uncomment this, all of them, and let's check out our web page. So I'll share the web page, 1 second. Yeah, so now it is working, and the error is also gone, as you can see. All right, so we have understood that we can use dynamic way of putting data using props. But अगर मेरे को ये पिज्जा वाला जो component है इसको बार बार create करना हो तो मेरे को बार बार लिखना पड़ेगा. I would have to create it all the time, right? So for that, let's go ahead and use little functionality. Like this is a logic that I'm going to create, and this logic is going to help us create multiple values. Okay, so this looks like some data that we need for this particular components, right? This is like brand का कोई data चाहिए मेरे को already, या description का कोई data चाहिए मेरे को already, right? Do you guys agree on this? So this needs to be keep coming, and my UI will be handled by my pizza component that we have over here. So for that, React has this concept of states. So to understand states, let's understand what it actually means. So I'll just remove this. I will just keep it over here like brand and description. Let it be the name, and the dynamic name ko abhi ke liye let it be the dynamic name that we want. Okay, so for this, what we need to do is we need to maintain states for the components. Now to maintain state, what I mean is it is a predefined data or some data that might change over time, or something that is required on the main component, and I can pass that data to my child components like this. So to do that, we use this keyword called state. Okay, so there are multiple ways of using state, and one such way is saying state, or we also use constructor methods, which you might see come across on a lot of codes. So constructor, and inside that we define the states. But here, what we do is we are trying to create some data which I can pass to my child component. So imagine when you go and search on an application, let's say if you are on a Zomato application, and when you click the search button, let's say the search button for any restaurant, let's say I want to eat, look for pizza menus, and you search for pizza, what it does is it gives you a list of places which delivers pizza, right? So at the moment, I want that data on my component before I can show it to the user, correct? So that is what state will do. Imagine that whole application face of Zomato as a UI, and the data that it holds is the state of it. So as soon as I create an state, the data comes in. Preet, we are creating an application only. This is a application itself. We will, to learn, if you're asking about mobile application, then no, because mobile application requires React Native. This is React JS. Okay, this is for web. Cool. So to do that, it looks like an object, right? So we create this state and specify some values inside this. And to specify those values, I provide, let's say, these are pizza places. I name it like this, and this becomes an array for me. Okay. Now, before I go into the array part of it, let's go ahead and create the names that we have already used. So what I want is, I want to create a state called brand, and at the moment I will give it a value of pizza. Okay, and for description, I will give it a value of whatever description I want. Best pizza in town. Okay, and this is comma separated. So what I'm creating is, this is a state value. These are the values that I might need for my component, and when I'm loading these components, these values will be required. Okay, so I've created the state. This is a state for this app, and these state values I need to pass to my child component. So when I'm passing this child component, let me close this. Abhi error aayega. So to pass this, this will not have access to brand directly. Okay, because I need to tell that from where you need to pick the brand. Okay, so it should be this dot state dot brand. So when I pick this dot state dot brand, since this is in the scope, the state is in the scope of this particular component, app component, it will go and check the state value, and inside that it will access the brand value. Okay, similarly for the description, it will take this dot state dot description, correct? And similarly for this, now this remains the same. I am not changing the value separately. I am going to use the same value for now, और description के लिए भी same value. तो obvious है कि ये same value same component load करेगा. So let's go and check out our page. It is still showing me error. And let's reload this dynamic name. Okay, I haven't defined anything as a dynamic name. So for that, I will also create a state value for dynamic name and call this Pizza Hunter. Okay, I just defined the Pizza Hunter name in the background. You might be seeing the screen that time. Okay, so I am missing a comma. So as you can see, it also tells me what kind of error I am facing, and you need to be able to understand the errors. I missed a comma after the dynamic name, and that's why it is saying that failed to compile. Now let's refresh it. Spelling error again. Let's go back to the code and change it properly. Dynamic name, dynamic, should be same, right? So if I'm okay, so I need to say this dot state dot dynamic name, correct? Because I need to access it from the state object that we are creating. So let's refresh this. And as you can see, it has loaded that component, and we have the value of state saved inside the app, and it is able to give me those values. Now, as in when I want to render this component anywhere in this function or in this component, I can use these values. Now, how it works is, it's basically these values will be auto-generated or maybe coming from the database. Okay, most of the time this might be coming from a database. And when it is coming from a backend or a database, we would want to fetch it over here and use it. So to do that, I am going to use arrays and store multiple brand names and description inside that. So उसके लिए इसको comment करते हैं. Dynamic name रहने देते हैं because that is the heading that I am using. And I will say pizza places as the name of the property for the state. और इसमें value create करते हैं. So this is an array. ठीक है, इसमें बहुत सारे values आ सकते हैं. It can be in number of hundreds or thousands or something like that. Okay, so here I'm going to create multiple objects, and we will have so many values over here. Okay, so let's say हमारे पास 4 values हैं, and according to the requirement हमें brand create करना है, हमें description create करना है हर एक brand के लिए. तो name property in this object, and I will name it as Pizza Hut, and description property and I will name it, give it a value of best pizza, let's say. And similarly, I would do it for rest of them. So हमारे पास 4 values हो जाएंगी. And most of the times in real world application, these values will be coming from database, and we will see how that works. So let's just copy and paste and change the values. I'll paste it over here. Have 4 values and Domino's, best pizza in town. Let's have this. Let's say Papa John's. चौथे का नाम नहीं आ रहा है मेरे को. Pizza place. And let's have some name that I go to. It's called Oven Bricks. Okay. Authentic pizza. So I have these values. Now, what do you think? Will this values work over here? Can I use this values and this is going to pick up this dot brand dot this dot state dot brand? Will it pick up? No, right? Why? Because this dot brand, this dot state dot pizza place is a property. There is no property like this dot brand, this dot state dot brand. So it is going to look for values. So now what I'm going to do is I will access pizza places. Okay. And for the name, for the brand part, will this work? For the brand part, will this work? Will the name work over here? Okay, Sridhar says this dot state dot pizza places 0 name. Okay, so first of all, let's access the values. तो अभी हमने क्या बोला है कि ये सीधे सारा डेटा भेजा जो है वो एक एरे का डेटा हम एक्सेस कर रहे हैं, बट हमें स्पेसिफिक एक वैल्यू चाहिए. तो लेट्स से पहला वैल्यू चाहिए तो जीरो इंडेक्सिंग होती है, राइट? सो वी विल से in the 0th place get me the name, because this is an object. This will be the 0th place, correct? And inside this is an object, so I have got an access to the object, and then inside this I have the name value. Okay, similarly I'll use the same value over here and pass the value something like this for the description. So objects की तरह हम लोग treat कर रहे हैं and everything is object over here. Now let's go and check out our application. So it doesn't show any error, it doesn't display anything at the moment because second वाले में हमने वो changes नहीं किए. So it is kind of saying cannot read property to uppercase undefined. Where is it picking up from? Okay, yeah, cool. So before doing that, let me comment this out and check out our where did it go? Pizza place. तो अब यहाँ पे जब हम props access कर रहे हैं तो उसमें ऐसा कुछ आ नहीं रहा है, डॉट ब्रांड डायरेक्टली आ नहीं रहा है, करेक्ट? क्या आ रहा है? तो उसके लिए हम लोग पहले console.log स्टेटमेंट लिखते हैं यहाँ पे and see what our props looks like. So we will check out the props that it is receiving. So at the moment, let's refresh and see found object with keys. If you meant to render collection of children, use array instead. Yeah. So let's see what is, has it come, has the data come to my console? क्या यहाँ पे कुछ लोड हो भी रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है? So ऑब्जेक्ट तक आ रहा है, बट ये हो सकता है हमारे पिज्जा में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है जो हम ठीक से हैंडल नहीं कर रहे. बट एट द मोमेंट the object is coming in the props, correct? So we can see this coming. This is getting rendered. So उसके लिए what we will do is we will go back and uncomment this, क्योंकि JSX को उसको empty values मिला, so it started complaining saying कि आपने जो भी भेजा है एक child component होना चाहिए render के अंदर, return के अंदर, जिसके वजह से हमें कुछ मिल नहीं रहा है. Okay, so props has this brand value and description, and that we have sent like this. But this looks like a cumbersome job, right? Even though I can copy this and do it for all of them, I don't want to do this. Before I start doing that, let's see if it works or not. If it renders at least pizza with the name of Pizza Hut. So let's refresh and see if it works. Yes, it does. It does work, and it says, okay, this is something related to the class name. So what happens over here is we are receiving the props in a proper way, the way this particular functional component was expected to receive the props. So pizza में props आ रहा है, और वो props क्या है? ये brand और description. But अगर मेरे को ये same चीज दूसरे values के लिए करनी हो, if I want to re-render pizza for the first index or let's say third index or third index के लिए, and if I save this, this is going to access this, the oven brick third, because 0 1 2 3 oven bricks access करेगा, and then it will give the description for that. अगर मैंने यहाँ पे 2 लिख दिया तो ये आप देख सकते हो, ये this is a kind of a bug that a person can create, right? कि कहीं यहाँ पे third index लिखा और second index लिखा, even though code is going to work fine, but this is a human error where you can get oven bricks. Okay, it is showing me authentic pizza. Refresh this. So now it says pizza place, but the name is oven bricks. So the dynamic value is working, and the value that it receives inside this is something that it is supposed to receive. So this works fine, right? But the problem is we might make some issue, or we might make some error. So we need to be smart coders when we are trying to create, and we try to minimize this. So this is an error in the logic, correct? So what we will do is, instead of sending and using pizza like this, what we will do is we will send this whole array all together as a prop. ठीक है? तो ये दोनों वैल्यू नीचे रखते हैं ताकि you can refer it later. And right now, I'm then just going to put it below this, so that when you are going through this code, it makes it easier for you to understand. So instead of having these props sent individually, what I will do is I will say pizza places. So now you can name the prop the way you want it. Now I try to stick to the regular naming convention so that it doesn't create issues for me at later point of time. I do not start confusing with different name. यहाँ पे कोई और नाम दे दिया, यहाँ पे कुछ और नाम दे दिया, और पिज्जा में कुछ और नाम से एक्सेस कर रहे हैं, तो प्रॉब्लम होने लगती है. So I like to keep things consistent, and that's why I'm using this name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this dot state dot pizza places. So it is pretty evident that it is going to throw me a lot of errors. अभी हमने क्या किया, ये पूरा array भेज दिया यहाँ से. I'm sending this complete array instead of sending only one thing. Correct? And the function component that I have over here is supposed to receive that. But here it will start throwing some errors. Why? Because props.brand अब उसको मिलेगा नहीं, props.description उसको मिलेगा नहीं, क्योंकि हमने यहाँ पे ऐसा कोई props बना के इसको भेजा नहीं है. So that's why what we will do is, and I can show you the error as well. It will start throwing errors. So let's go to the application, refresh it. So once I refresh it, it is going to show me those errors. So you see a huge list of errors are coming, and it also says cannot reach to upper of undefined. So when it says to uppercase of undefined, it is telling me that the error is at this point. So this error means this particular thing is being done on a undefined value. Does it make sense? This particular thing is being done on an undefined value, and that's why this error is. And we know as a programmer that okay, there must not be something that is coming as a part of brand, that there can be an issue. So this is also a debugging skill that you need to have. तो हमें पता है हमने array भेजा है और array हम रिसीव कर रहे हैं, तो हमने ऑब्वियसली यहाँ पे प्रिंट आउट किया था, तो यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हो अब जो प्रॉप्स आ रहा है इट इज अ कंप्लीट एरे. ठीक है, लेंथ 4 है उसका, एंड देयर आर ऑल द वैल्यूज फ्रॉम द पेरेंट. नाउ दिस मेक्स life much more easier. Yes, we can use props dot brands at the rate 0, or maybe I will say props dot pizza place at the rate 0, and then use dot name and then use dot uppercase, and we have that way. But why to work so much? Why to write so much code when there are ways to iterate this stuff? तो अब हमारे पास this pizza data has received over here. I have received the data over here. Now what I want to create is for each element, that is for each element inside this array, which is this, I want to create a look and feel of heading and paragraph, right? हर एक एलिमेंट को ऐसा ऐसा div create करना है. Does it make sense what I'm saying? So if you have to write for the four things, you will have to write 4 divs like this using वो dot accessing those arrays elements and using the dot operators and getting the name out of it. So what we want to do is, instead of doing this, I will just use some array functionalities and create or return something new. Correct. So to do that, we are going to use something called map, which is an array function. So let's say let pizza places list is equal to, तो इस वेरिएबल में हम वो लिस्ट क्रिएट करेंगे. अभी के लिए इसको कमेंट कर देते हैं. सो इस पिज्जा प्लेस में हम लोग एक लिस्ट क्रिएट करेंगे ऑफ JSX फॉर ईच एलिमेंट. सो हर एलिमेंट के लिए एक JSX क्रिएट करेंगे और इस लिस्ट को रेंडर कर देंगे. तो हमारा काम बहुत आसान हो जाएगा. So for that, what we will do is we will access the props, and inside this, I know that this value, there are some values inside this. So I will say dot map, because I know, sorry, not directly, because props dot pizza places. So this is an array. You understand this part, right? This is an array, and on the array I can use this functionality called map. Now what map does is it takes in the values inside the array and it will iterate through each value, और वो रिटर्न करेगा जो भी हम हर एक वैल्यू के लिए रिटर्न करना चाहेंगे. Okay, it will return everything for each one of them. So it receives a callback function. So this is a callback that I am writing. Map के अंदर हम एक callback लिख रहे हैं और ये iterate करता है each values के ऊपर. So I am going to say pizza place, and this receives that as a parameter for this particular thing. ठीक है, तो ये हमारा नॉर्मल एरो फंक्शन है जो हम लगा रहे हैं, और इसके ये हमने एक फंक्शन लिखा है एक मैप फंक्शन के अंदर. तो हो क्या रहा है कि इट इज गोइंग टू आइटरेट थ्रू द प्रॉप्स which we are receiving. So it is going to iterate through this array. So map function is only for arrays, remember. ठीक है, बिना array के नहीं कर सकते. और वो हमने कैसे किया है, पिज्जा डॉट प्लेसेस करके. अगर डायरेक्ट प्रॉप्स डॉट पिज्जा प्लेसेस करके, अगर हम डायरेक्ट प्रॉप्स डॉट मैप करते तो वो काम नहीं करता, क्योंकि प्रॉप्स एक ऑब्जेक्ट है. हम ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर एक प्रॉपर्टी एक्सेस किए जो कि एक एरे टाइप ऑफ एरे है, और उस पे मैप फंक्शन लगाया. और हमने क्या बोला कि ये मैप फंक्शन में एक कॉल बैक फंक्शन होता है, एंड दिस कॉल बैक फंक्शन iterates through each value and it receives each value as a parameter. तो ये नाम आप कुछ भी लिख सकते हो. And this, and if I console.log this pizza place जो हम access कर रहे हैं, so let's save this and go to Chrome and refresh. So obviously there is going to be error because हमने यहाँ से कुछ render नहीं किया है और हम return कर रहे हैं. But यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे, it has rendered individual elements. यहाँ से देखना चालू करो, पिज्जा नंबर लाइन नंबर 10 से. So लाइन नंबर 10 में सारे values iterate होके print हो रहे. Make sense? What is happening? Is my voice breaking for everyone, or is it just for Nitin? Okay. Nitin, check your internet. So यहाँ पे हमने access किया हर एक values को. Now this makes my life much more easier. How? Because अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं, इस values, individual values के लिए JSX create कर सकते हैं, और because this is a function, arrow function, I can return these values and it will get saved in this pizza places list. ठीक है, तो वो करते हैं. तो यहाँ से what I will do is I will return the JSX, some JSX from here, and that is going to be something similar to this. So copy this and paste it. और ये comment हटा दो. ठीक है, div miss हो गया शायद. So I will use end this div. So this is a return value. तो हो क्या रहा है, हर एक value के लिए हमें ये एक return value मिल रहा है. तो इसको ठीक कैसे करेंगे? Will this work? What is the change in the code that we need to do? Can anyone suggest? Can anyone suggest? What is pizza place dot brand? Correct. What I was asking, what is the change in the code that we need to do to make this work? Because at the moment my props dot brand will not work. Why? Because वो तो हमने access कर लिया है यहाँ पे pizza places में, which is an array at the moment. And for individual value we can access the name of it. तो अब हमें जो pizza place मिला है for individual item, because हमने देखा था each one was an object, right? Sorry, not this. So what I need to do is I need to access the brand from that pizza place, right? जो भी हम यहाँ पे receive कर रहे हैं, which is individual elements of this array, that will this work? Dot brand? Obviously not, because there is no dot brand over here. So it is going to be dot name. And similarly here, okay, pizza place dot description. So what I'm doing is for every element that I receive, it is going to return me a JSX value. And for that thing, I am going to now return over here. तो ये सारी चीजें हटा देते हैं, इसको कमेंटेड रखते हैं और रिटर्न वैल्यू को अनकमेंट करके यहाँ पे ये जो चीज लिखी है उसको रिटर्न करते हैं. तो क्या हम ये डायरेक्ट रिटर्न कर सकते हैं ऐसे? विल दिस वर्क? It shouldn't. Correct, Nitin. We need to have curly braces around because what we are returning is a a lot of JSX. ठीक है, और उसको हमने सेव किया है एक वेरिएबल में और उस वेरिएबल को रिटर्न कर रहे हैं, बट देन अगेन इट विल शो मी एन एरर. So let's just check it out that whether this part works or not, and refresh this page. And it says objects are not valid as a React child. और यहाँ पे कुछ suggestion होंगे. Objects are not valid as React child. If you meant to render a collection of children, use an array instead. Okay, cool. So what could be the issue? Let's go and debug it. So हमने ये return किया है. So before I return something from here, that is okay. We need to do send IDs. That is for sure. But ये print तो होना चाहिए था. तो let's just see कि पिज्जा प्लेसेस लिस्ट है क्या चीज, बना भी है कि नहीं बना है, क्योंकि हमने ये फंक्शन लिख के मैप फंक्शन से JSX बना के उसको इसमें स्टोर कर दिया. तो हुआ क्या उसका, इज इट देयर और नॉट? So let's go and check it out and refresh this. Did I miss an S? Where did I miss an S? No, I think you are getting confused, Sakshi. I'll tell you what we missed. I'll show you what I'm trying to see. Okay, so line number 19 का output मेरे को दिख रहा है and it is an array. So I am returning an array. It works fine. And if I open this, let me just expand it for better visibility. तो ये था इंडिविजुअल आइटम्स जो हमने फंक्शन के अंदर प्रिंट किया, तो वो आइटरेट कर रहा है जो एरे आया, एंड देन व्हाट आई एम रिटर्निंग फ्रॉम दैट एज अ पिज्जा प्लेस लिस्ट, that is also getting printed over here because line number 19 पे था वो. And inside this it looks like some code again in the form of objects, and ये objects में it is saying that okay ये react element है, ये जो type है एक react element है, तो मतलब ये JSX है, ठीक है. और उसके props क्या क्या है? So basically ये जो JSX हमने create किया था क्लास पिज्जा से आ रहे हैं, और इसके अंदर props क्या क्या है? So इसके props में हर एक के अंदर एक h1 है और एक p है. So it is kind of creating that stuff. JSX है, ठीक है, ये internal code है React का. वो कैसे अपना JSX क्रिएट कर रहा है, और वो भी एक ऑब्जेक्ट फॉर्मेट में क्रिएट हो रहा है, और बहुत सारे अदर इंफॉर्मेशन हैं इन दिस ऑब्जेक्ट. सो आई एम प्रीटी श्योर दैट माय लिस्ट ऑफ JSX इज गेटिंग क्रिएटेड. सो टू रेंडर दिस आई नीड टू सेंड दिस डेटा. सो यहां तक तो काम कर रहा है. नाउ व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज जस्ट रिटर्न दिस एरे लिस्ट. करेक्ट. सो उसके लिए हमें एक div एनक्लोज करना पड़ेगा इसके अराउंड, क्योंकि इसमें मल्टीपल JSX हैं, and there is a requirement which says that whenever there are multiple divs, because ऐसे बहुत सारे div हैं and एक के ऊपर एक के ऊपर एक के ऊपर stack होंगे ये. So when I do this, let's see if it works or not, and refresh this page and check it out. And it works, voila, it does. So now if you see, if I increase the number of state, this is automatically going to increase. Does it make sense? इसको थोड़ा स्टाइलिंग कर लें क्या, थोड़ा सा बॉक्स वॉक्स में डाल देते हैं, बेटर दिखेगा, राइट. सो टू हैव अ बेटर व्यू टू दिस बॉक्सेस, क्या करते हैं, इसको कंपोनेंट करके एक फोल्डर स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करते हैं और उसमें पुश कर देते हैं. तो ऑब्वियसली मेरा सारा वैल्यूज चेंज हो जाना चाहिए इंपोर्ट एंड एक्सपोर्ट वाला, विच इज बेसिकली माई ऐप. बस यहाँ पे चेंज होगा. ओके, दिस हैज ऑलरेडी बीन डन. माई VS कोड इज स्मार्ट इनफ, वी हैव क्रिएटेड कंपोनेंट्स। अब यहाँ पे एक स्टाइलिंग क्रिएट कर लेते हैं, लेट्स से पिज्जा डॉट सी एस एस। ओके, और हमने कुछ क्लास नेम दिया था इसको, सो ये वाला क्लास एक्सेस करते हैं सी एस एस में। ठीक है, आई से डॉट पिज्जा and create a box around this. So width, वही width लग देते हैं 200 pixels, and then I will create something of height, auto कर देते हैं, margin 5 pixels all around, padding 10 pixels so that it is better looking. We will put some border after margin. I'll put a border and I will have it as 1 pixel dotted, and let's have a light blue color to the border. Also, I'll put a background color to this so it looks better. मैं बस ट्राई कर रहा हूँ कि सारे बॉक्सेस एक साथ आ जाएं, तो बैकग्राउंड हम लोग सैल्मन का रख देते हैं. So when I'm using this, I will use the color to white or smoke white क्योंकि it gives a nice feel. Box shadow पे काम किया आप लोगों ने कभी? Has anyone ever used box shadow? ठीक है, थोड़ा शैडोइश टिंच दे देते हैं इसको. तो क्या क्या वैल्यूज होती है? आई वॉन्ट 2 pixels towards x-axis, 3 pixels. I want a blur of let's say 3 pixels and a slate gray color or the slate blue. Let's see how it looks like. Also, सारे बॉक्सेस को एक साथ करना है तो डिस्प्ले इसका इनलाइन ब्लॉक कर देते हैं. ये तो समझ में आ रहा होगा ना, ये तो समझाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, let's see how it looks like. All right, there is some error. Pizza.js, no such file. All right, which such file? It should have worked. No such file. Source pizza.js. Yeah, there is no such file as that. But I changed it over here. Should have picked it up. Okay, it hasn't been saved. Cool. Let's save it. It will work. But I also need to. Will the CSS work? It won't because I haven't imported it. So to that I will do import dot slash same में pizza dot css. तो हमें css या कोई भी other different files होती हैं which is not JS files, it needs to be okay. Yeah, pizza spelling correct. So if there is any file which is not the part which is not a JS, then we should include the extension for that. And now it looks like that it is up and running, and let's see how it looks like. And yeah, maybe this oven bricks is going into second line and the size has taken over, but it kinds of gives me this card structure. Correct? Oven bricks को छोटा कर देगा. Let's use a single word for now. Let's use a single word. Space कम कर देते हैं. तो अब देखना कितने आसानी से मैं changes भी कर सकता हूँ. So I'll just remove a space, use this, and let's see if it works. वो साइज का इशू आ रहा है, हम इसको फिक्स कर सकते हैं. ऑटो किया हुआ है हाइट, इसलिए ये इशू आ रहा है. नाउ इट इज इन वन स्पेस. So it looks like a card structure that we have created with some shadow around it. अब CSS से तो आप अपने आप प्ले अराउंड कर सकते हो, हेडर को भी आप अपने से स्ट्रक्चर कर सकते हो. बट दिस इज ऑसम, राइट? Like now, if I keep on adding data, my content is going to get added automatically. So let's add some other 3-4 add कर देते हैं, and let's let's have the same name, doesn't matter, and refresh it. So when I refresh it, you see what is happening. It keeps on adding the data. अब मेरा जो functional component है, that is independent of the data that we have. Correct? तो reusability of my component has increased. अब ये component मैं कहीं भी use कर सकता हूँ. Not only in app, anywhere. Right? अगर हमारा कुछ structure ऐसा बनता है. Are you able to understand this? It's pretty awesome how it works. So अब let's go and check this out, that how the flow is working. What I have done is I have just used a single pizza component. उसको मैंने data pass किया using the state values. It has come inside this. I was pretty much sure that this is being received as a array. So I used a array functionality, which is a map functionality. What map does is it returns some value based on the operation that you do inside this, which is this function. This is a callback function. Okay. And it receives the individual value from this array, and this gets saved as multiple JSX values. और हमारा क्या काम क्या था इस component का, कि ये बस एक JSX value return करेगा. Now we need to always enclose adjacent JSX in our div. ये एक important factor है, क्योंकि हमने देखा था जब हमने ये div नहीं लगाया था, then it was not showing me the output. Make sense? What is happening? What do you mean by type, Sridhar? प्रीत, क्यों लगाया था मैप? क्योंकि हमें हर एक एलिमेंट को आइटरेट करना था. ये एक एरे की फंक्शनैलिटी है. ठीक है, मैप के बारे में पढ़ना बहुत ज्यादा यूज होता है. एरे फंक्शनैलिटी है, तो हम इस एरे फंक्शनैलिटी में क्या होता है कि वो हर एक एलिमेंट उस एरे के अंदर जो है उसको आइटरेट करता है, और वो जो ये फंक्शन है हमारा, इस फंक्शन में उसको एक्सेस देता है, और इस फंक्शन में हम जो भी रिटर्न कर रहे हैं वो सेव हो जाता है, वो रिटर्न हो जाता है. ओके, दैट्स व्हाई मैप. आई एम नॉट श्योर श्रीधर व्हाट यू आर आस्किंग. No, we don't have anything like that in JavaScript. The type hinting, अब मैं समझा क्या बोल रहा हूँ. The type of the parameter in the format at the function definition. No, there is no such thing here. It automatically picks up the type. JavaScript automatically picks up the type, so we don't want that. Okay. So this is pretty awesome. This has made my life much more easier. Now I can simply focus on the data that is coming to this and handle my data accordingly. Right? Okay. Now let's inspect this. So आप देखोगे जो React है वो responsive भी है. खुद से उसने adjust कर दिया इसको. ठीक है, हमें ज़्यादा मेहनत करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ी उसमें. It automatically stacked things here. Alright. Now let's go inside the console and see if there is some problem. Okay. There is a warning that I see. It says each child in a list should have a unique key property. Yeah, you can fix the CSS part, Sridhar. You can do anything that you want, similar to the regular CSS functionality. So do you see this? each child is in a list should have a unique key property. So what does this mean? यहाँ पे ये जो आप देख रहे हो ये separate individual cards is a separate JSX, right? All these cards are a separate JSX values. Make sense? And now what we want to do is we need to give each one of them a value of key. तो उससे होगा क्या कि रिएक्ट का जो सिस्टम है उसको समझ में आएगा इफ देयर इज अ चेंज टू अ स्पेसिफिक कार्ड एट द मोमेंट ऑल दीज कार्ड्स आर सेम अकॉर्डिंग टू रिएक्ट. ठीक है, तो इसको एक्सपैंड करते हैं जो हमने कंपोनेंट देखा था. एंड इस inside this it has this property of key which it requires. Therefore it is showing me this warning. It is saying that okay, the key value is missing and we need to get that key value so that I can access individual JSX element at the time of the need. Let's say I am trying to update just Papa John's का data. तो रिएक्ट को समझ में नहीं आएगा कि कौन से वाले JSX को टारगेट करना है या डोमिनोज का वैल्यू कुछ चेंज करना है हमें आगे चल के. तो उसको ये नहीं समझ में आएगा कि कौन से वाले कार्ड में मैं जाके चेंज करूं. एंड फॉर दैट कीज आर इंपॉर्टेंट. डज इट मेक सेंस? Any doubt in this? Okay. So we will come over here and add some IDs to this. Yeah, I will repeat that, Sridhar, in a moment. Just give me a second. So I will put a ID value to all of them and I'll say, and give it a value of numbers. ID 2, comma separated. ID 3, ID 4, ID 5, and ID 6. So when I'm creating this IDs, what I'm doing is basically this data in most of the cases will come from database and database already has some ID associated with it, correct? It already has some IDs associated with it. So at that moment, these IDs can be taken up from there. But for the moment, what we are doing is we are just assigning an IDs to each values that we have. And I need to give these IDs to all the JSX that is getting created over here. Okay. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to give this key property because this is a JSX. Do not think कि key value आपका HTML में भी काम करेगा क्योंकि ये HTML नहीं है, ये एक JSX है और उसमें एक key value है, ठीक है? और यहाँ पे हमें IDs देना है and that is going to come from my pizza place जो हर एक element को हम iterate कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. From there, the ID part. So if I save this, that warning will be gone. Okay. All right. Okay. बताओ क्या एरर है? यहाँ देख के समझ में आ रहा है क्या गड़बड़ किया हमने? नहीं ओम, पिज्जा प्लेस होगा वो. पिज्जा प्लेस लिस्ट तो पूरा पूरा एरे है जो हम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, बट उसके पहले JSX बन रहा है ना. करेक्ट अनम. Yes, correct Nitin. We missed out a curly braces. So therefore it is unable to understand this and we need this curly braces. So let's go and check it out and refresh this. And it works fine. It works fine over here. And this looks pretty okay. But there is still this warning called class name. अब इसको थोड़ा सा handle कर लेते हैं. Let's see what this is about. So बेसिकली हुआ क्या था, जब हम लोग रिएक्ट शुरू कर रहे थे या व्हेन रिएक्ट स्टार्टेड गेटिंग क्रिएटेड, दे यूज्ड, सो ये जो क्लास वैल्यूज है क्लास कंपोनेंट्स हैं, एंड हम लोग ने इसमें भी एक क्लास यूज किया हुआ है, करेक्ट। तो इसके वजह से होता क्या है कि इनिशियली दे यूज टू हैव कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स विद दीज नेम्स, सो mostly most of the times you will see the attributes which might have a normal name is camel cased in React, just for the difference of it. So if I go here and check it out, there is still some invalid DOM property, but that other class name thing is gone, and this is at index.js1. So let's check it out where this problem is. All right, यहाँ पे हमने वो रिएक्ट स्ट्रिक्ट मोड हटाया था, उसको वापस डालते हैं. लेट्स सी इफ इट इज रिलेटेड टू दैट. स्ट्रिक्ट मोड, copy this, just paste it over here. Okay, so this gives us a fair amount of idea whether this is going to work properly or not. I don't think this is the issue. Static JS main chunk, this is the issue. Okay, so उन्होंने validation check किया हुआ है React strict mode लगा के, and that is gone. इसलिए we stick to our main app.js, we start working from app.js, and whatever we require, we start working our way through our application. So now we understand that states can be used inside a class-based component, but I cannot use states inside a function component. So you cannot just go ahead and create state like this and say this dot state inside this, because functional component will not have state properties. It just has the class properties. Now, in the latest React, they have introduced hooks, which gives the functionality of using states inside the functions. But at the moment, we will understand how it works. तो class based component के लिए हमें state property चाहिए, use कर सकते हैं. फंक्शन बेस्ड कंपोनेंट में हम स्टेट प्रॉपर्टी नहीं यूज कर सकते. ठीक है ना. स्टेट प्रॉपर्टी हम लोग तब चाहिए होता है हमें जब हमें किसी कंपोनेंट में कोई डेटा स्टोर करने की जरूरत है, राइट. यहाँ पे हमें डेटा स्टोर करने की जरूरत है बिकॉज फ्रॉम हियर आई एम गोइंग टू फ्लो दिस डेटा आउट ऑफ दिस प्लेस टू दिस पर्टिकुलर पिज्जा प्लेस component. वहां पे it receives the data, I have written the functionality, and this looks like that okay, this is going to be my way of doing it. I want something like this, and that I return, and I am not dependent on the data. I, I I am a little bit dependent on the data obviously because props are required for it to fulfill it. Now let's see if I do not send any props over here, what will happen. Everything will be empty, so it will start throwing errors, right? So if I do not send any props, it will start throwing errors. Agreed? So let's go and check it out. Refresh this, close this out. It will start throwing errors because it will say that okay, your this point is undefined. तो इसको कैसे ठीक किया जाए? How should I handle this error? I need to have a validation check for my arrays, that whether there is some data or not inside this. Correct? So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to have that logical check on our pizza. Yes. तो आपने कभी ऐसे वाले functions use किए where we say that if there is a condition, if it is true, send this part for true, otherwise send this part for false. Have you used something like this? Yes, it is called ternary operations. So I will do the same thing over here. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, यहाँ पे चेक करेंगे कि हमारा जो props डॉट पिज्जा प्लेसेस आ रहा है वो है कि नहीं है. तो if I say pizza places dot props, do you remember truthy and falsy values from JavaScript? Right? So if I do this, sorry, उल्टा लिख दिया मैंने, props dot pizza places. अगर इसमें वैल्यू है तो क्या ये ट्रू होगा फॉल्स होगा? वैल्यू है तो ट्रू होगा, वैल्यू नहीं है, जीरो है या नल है या कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा है तो फॉल्स होगा. राइट? सो लेंथ को भी चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है उतना. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, ये टर्नरी ऑपरेशंस लगाएंगे एंड दिस क्लोजेस ओवर हियर, अदरवाइज आई विल से नो डेटा और आई विल क्रिएट अ p tag saying that no data available. ठीक है, तो पहले कंडीशन लगा देंगे इसका and I'll say अगर props.pizza ट्रू है, props.pizza ट्रू है तो ये फंक्शन एग्जीक्यूट करो यहां तक, अदरवाइज ये क्रिएट होगा. तो ये भी क्या है, एक JSX है. ठीक है, सो लेट्स गो एंड for the moment remove this one where we are sending the data and just use this one. Will this work? Is this a right condition right now? Is this the right condition? Will it work? What do you guys think? Right? So we do not have anything called props.pizza places and it says no data available. So this is a check that we have done on our data that we are receiving from the parent to make sure that it doesn't fail. This is failing gracefully. This is what is called failing gracefully. We are failing to send the data and we are doing a check over here. And based on this check, I am conditionally rendering it. So this is called conditional rendering. Okay? Make sense? What is happening over here? Cool. मजा आ रहा है रिएक्ट पे? समझ में आ रहा है रिएक्ट? Yeah, Nitin, go ahead. Do you want to speak? Okay, you have already asked. Can we give ID in H1 instead of in div? Which ID you are talking about? This key ID? Ye key na? This is the one that you are talking about. So this is the whole JSX we are creating. This is the starting point and H1 and P is the child elements to it. तो अगर आप लोग ने देखा होगा ध्यान से, let's inspect this. Still some errors, issues. What is that issue? Yeah, cannot read property of map undefined, obviously, because if it goes inside props dot thing, it will start creating issues. But if this array, if you will check, we have used this and this is the div type. So the key property should be on the parent all the time. अगर इसको हम लोग JSX के टर्म्स में भी देखें तो ये एक पेरेंट JSX है और उसके अंदर चाइल्ड वैल्यूज हैं, जो कि जो भी वैल्यूज हम H1 या P क्रिएट कर रहे हैं वो एज अ प्रॉप पास हो रहा है। तो एज यू कैन सी देयर इज अ चिल्ड्रन प्रॉपर्टी एंड दिस इज H1 एंड P। ठीक है, तो अगर हम इसको भी की वैल्यू देंगे इट विल वर्क फाइन, बट एट द मोमेंट वी आर नॉट रेप्लिकेटिंग द सेम चिल्ड्रन। या P वैल्यू को देखेंगे तो वी आर नॉट रेप्लिकेटिंग द सेम चिल्ड्रन। Are you getting the hang of what is happening? Why we have given key to the div and not H1? Right? So if I close this, type is div key 1, type is div key 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this way React will understand that, okay, now I have pretty clear idea of which element is what and what is the ID of it. Right? Okay. तो अब एक काम करते हैं, एक डिलीट फंक्शन लगाते हैं इस पे। डिलीट फंक्शन लगाते हैं इन कार्ड्स पे कि अगर मेरे को लेट्स सपोज डिलीट करना है कोई पॉइंट, तो उसके लिए क्या करेंगे, सबसे पहले app.js को वैल्यूज दे देते हैं, app.js को वैल्यूज दे देते हैं, app.js से वैल्यू दे देते हैं और इस पिज्जा में हर एक div के साथ एक बटन अटैच कर देते हैं। I'll call this button and delete card or delete whatever। ठीक है, तो इससे क्या होगा कि एक डिलीट फंक्शनैलिटी आ जाएगी हमारे पिज्जा में। So if I refresh this, that will come up over here somewhere. So delete this card, looks weird in this color scheme. Before I go ahead, Anam, what do you mean by we can have both class name and HTML like class in JSX? What is an HTML like class? What is an HTML like class? What do you mean by that? Okay, a div class something, class name pizza. No, you use only one thing. This is just for CSS. This is just for CSS. When we use these classes, we just use it for CSS. Okay? Use one of the thing. Do not use both of them over here. कि class भी डाल दिया, class name भी डाल दिया। आप देख रहे हो ये पिज्जा का value तो pick कर ही रहा है ना यहाँ से। It is picking up this class name, right? So this is just equivalent to class, and this is camel case. Okay? Multiple classes तो आप space लगा दो यहाँ पे। Let's say हमने यहाँ पे एक और डॉट बटन क्लास भी लिखा हुआ है और उसमें लिखा है फॉन्ट साइज, समथिंग लाइक दैट। सिमिलर है, काफी काफी कूल चीज है ये, क्योंकि you don't want to complicate things to next level, so that's why we try to stick to a very constant type of design. Alright, so अब delete की functionality देखना है हमें। तो ये एक delete card हो गया, and what I want to do is I want to delete this card on the click of it. How do I delete this? How do I delete this? Can someone explain me the flow? Raise of hand if someone can explain me the flow, and unmute yourself and explain it instead of typing. Any volunteers who wants to explain this stuff? Like just the flow कि कैसे अगर मैं यहाँ पे click कर रहा हूँ तो control कहाँ से कहाँ जा रहा है और कैसे जा रहा है. कोड में भी देखना है तो मैं कोड दिखा देता हूँ. Anyone volunteering for this? सही गलत ऑलमोस्ट सही चलेगा सब. Okay, एक
Hello,
second,
sir.
Nitin. I have to remove this. Go ahead.
Hello. Hi, sir. Actually, I was thinking after clicking on that delete button, we can access
Mhm.
that ID of that particular tag. And based on
Okay.
that ID, uh,
Okay.
we can render the ID which is not, we can render the remaining ID.
Correct. That makes sense. But how will we do that? Like this is the button,
Huh.
and I capture the
We
ID,
can
right?
capture that particular ID.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
And then what
then
do we do?
then we can map again, no?
Okay. तो यहाँ से हमें flow कहाँ ले जाना होगा? Where should I take this? What am I deleting?
Once again, sir.
What am I
I'll think.
deleting? Yeah. अनम ने hint दिया आपको. We are
Attention.
deleting.
Event list.
No, the last one. ये चीज delete करना है ना? We need to delete this description,
Huh. No,
right?
sir. I'm
Name
not
and
getting
description.
actually confused.
Okay. चलो ठीक है.
Okay.
कोई नहीं.
Okay, sir.
Well, you started well. Like you started on the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else who wants to volunteer? Continue from where Nitin left. Display none will not delete Manan. It will just hide it from the display. Rajkamal says on click. Correct. तो हमें क्या करना होगा? Let's continue. Just give me a second. I will attach my mic. Yeah. So what we will do is we need to capture this part. Like when the user does something on this button, we need to go and delete that particular value. So let's say अगर oven break पे click किया third वाले, fifth वाले या sixth वाले पे. Yes, correct. So we need to delete this state value. Remove it from the state. Now, I think I did not say this. You can change the value of the state, but props are immutable. You do not take the value over here and make changes to those values. Okay, that is not how you should be doing it. Correct? So what we need to do is we now need to change some state values depending on this button click. तो उसके लिए हमें क्या करना है कि सबसे पहले तो यहां से कंट्रोल लेके वापस ले जाना है यहाँ पे, और इस ऐप में मेरे को बताना है कि ठीक है आपका एक इंस्ट्रक्शन आया है which is telling you to delete some of the values from the state. Okay, so to do that, what I need to do is I need to have a function in the class application. Okay, so I will just say I will use delete card. ठीक है, delete card लिख रहे हैं और ये एक फंक्शन क्रिएट कर देते हैं, arrow function. Okay, and I will say I will receive an ID over here from somewhere and I will delete my card over here. So for that I'll just console.log ID. So how do I receive this ID? Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a event which will help me to do this. Correct? So to do this event, I can attach a event to my button over here. So to attach an event, something similar you might have come across if you have seen events. Events are very important, and if you haven't, just go and take a read of what are events and how it works in JavaScript. We are going to attach an on click event. So with this, what I'm doing is on the click of this, I want to trigger this function, delete card function. ये कैसे होगा? इस component से app.js का delete card trigger करना है. तो उसके लिए तो मेरे को एक्सेस चाहिए होगा उस चीज का, ठीक है। वो एक्सेस कैसे आएगा? हाउ विल आई पास this function to this pizza? How do I pass stuff from particular components to another components? Export? नहीं, props. props में सेंड करेंगे। कुछ भी हमें सेंड करना है अपने चाइल्ड को, तो हम props में सेंड करेंगे। Yes. So what we need to send is, we also need to send this delete card prop and say this dot delete card, ठीक है। नाउ आई डोंट वांट टू इन्वोक दिस फंक्शन एज सून एज दिस इज रेंडर्ड। अगर मैं इसको ऐसे लिख दूं तो क्या होगा कि दिस विल एक्सेस दिस डिलीट कार्ड फंक्शन एंड इट विल गेट एग्जीक्यूटेड ऑटोमेटिकली, ठीक है। अगर नहीं किया, अगर हमें बस रेफरेंस पास करना है, हमें ये कॉल नहीं करना है, सो दैट्स व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, आई एम पासिंग दिस टू pizza.js and now this can be received as a part of props, करेक्ट। वो ऑटोमेटिकली ऐड हो जाएगा बिकॉज हमने एक नया प्रॉप ऐड किया इसमें। सो इफ आई सेव दिस, लेट्स चेक इट आउट दैट वेदर आई रिसीव इट एज अ प्रॉप और नॉट। अनएक्सपेक्टेड टोकन डिलीट कार्ड। Where have I added it? Is it outside state? Yes. Is it outside render? Yes. And it should have worked. Let's see. 1 second. Is there some issue with the delete card? Oh, okay. Sorry. Rookie mistake. So I'm not creating a variable. I am creating a function value, and to create a function directly, let me save this. What I am specifying is, I am specifying a name of the function and giving it a value. Okay, let it compile. This will work. Yeah. So now the problem has changed. Delete card is a function which I want to pass as a prop to this one. So this must have received the prop. This must have received the prop. There is some functionality over on click. हमने उसको पूरा complete नहीं किया है. But let's check out the prop that we have received here. Console was cleared. Let's refresh. Okay. All right. So what I need to do is, first of all, because this is giving me an issue, I'll just go ahead and on click वाला part हटा दूंगा क्योंकि वो compilation के time पे ही error आ रहा है. No, I'll just remove the compilation on click वाला जो attribute add किया था and refresh this. Yeah. So if I check my props now, over here you see there is a delete card function also that is now a part of your pizza place, correct? And it is a function. It is not like the object that I'm sending. It is a function that I'm sending now. So this opens a lot of avenue for me as well, which says that, okay, here I'm going to access this particular function, and inside this, on the click of this, हमें क्या क्या ट्रिगर करना है, कौन सा फंक्शन ट्रिगर करना है? Which function do we trigger? Delete function, right? So we will say pizza place. Do we use pizza place? No, we use props dot, what is the name that I have given? Delete card. Okay. So delete card, props dot delete card. But our function requires an ID. So I need to send this particular ID in this function because that receives it. Yes. But क्या लगता है ये काम करेगा? मेरे को तो लगता है कि जैसे ही ये रेंडर होगा, क्लिक फंक्शन डिलीट कार्ड को कॉल कर देगा, डिलीट कार्ड को कॉल कर देगा, और जैसे ही डिलीट कार्ड को कॉल करेगा वो सारे डिलीट कर देगा ऑटोमेटिकली, या प्रिंट कर देगा. अभी डिलीट तो हो नहीं रहा है, हमने डिलीट की फंक्शनैलिटी लिखी नहीं है, बट लेट्स इंस्पेक्ट कि क्या कंसोल में ये प्रिंट हुआ है. सो इट इज प्रिंटिंग फॉर ईच ऑब्जेक्ट. एवरी टाइम द ऑब्जेक्ट इज गेटिंग रेंडर्ड, it is printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means the prop that I have received as a delete card ID is getting triggered as soon as the page is getting loaded. And we don't want that to happen. We only want that to happen when I click on this. When I click on this. So if I click on this, let's say this one, then that function should be triggered. Abhi kya ho raha hai? It is getting triggered apne aap. Okay, this is getting triggered automatically, and this because this is calling of function. So what we do is we wrap it around an anonymous function. So we create a arrow function and we just wrap this whole stuff inside that. So what this gives us is a functionality of triggering it only when I click on it. So it's like wrapping this whole function and saying that on click जो event है वो तब trigger होगा जब मैं इस पे क्लिक करूंगा. जब ये इवेंट ट्रिगर होगा तब ये फंक्शन ट्रिगर होगा, अदरवाइज ये फंक्शन ट्रिगर नहीं होगा. ओके, सो इफ आई गो बैक and refresh the page, and that 1 2 3 4 5 6 is gone now, right? Can you see this? And if I click on Pizza Hut, then it is printing 1. If I click on Domino's, then it is printing 2. If I click on any other pizza, then it is printing the ID. OnClick was working as it was supposed to work on them. Why? Because I was calling the function, and as soon as the render happened, it also rendered this button, right? It rendered a button, which is it rendered a button, and inside that button I have given a function to be triggered, and that was triggering the function which I have received. But that was something not what we wanted, because it would have deleted all the cards from the top. So for this, what we will do is we will go ahead and inside this, अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पे हमें ID का access मिल गया है. As we can see that ID was getting generated. Now I will leave it up to you guys to try it out and delete the specific ID. So to do that, you will have to use this dot set state, because अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे या मैं बता ही देता हूँ, because this is something that you might not have known till now. So at the moment, what we are going to do is we are going to change this ID or target the IDs which is coming from the delete function. So you will be like, okay, what we can do is we can check if this dot pizza place dot ID डॉट जो भी वैल्यूज है कोई भी एक ले लेंगे, लाइक आइटरेट थ्रू करके डॉट ID इज इक्वल टू द ID दैट आई एम रिसीविंग. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे कि जाके इसमें से एक वैल्यू हटा देंगे, ठीक है. बट नो, what we are trying to do is we are trying to modify the state now. As I said, states can be modified. So for that, we use this function called this dot set state. Okay, this dot state dot pizza, yeah, correct. So this dot set state, so this dot set state क्या करता है, it gives you the functionality of modifying the state. You do not directly modify the state like this. Like let's say this dot state dot dynamic name अगर हमें change करना है तो आप ऐसे नहीं change करोगे. You are never supposed to do this. Don't change the state directly. Okay, we never change it directly. We always use this dot set state और इसके अंदर we have this न्यू ऑब्जेक्ट और उसमें हम बताते हैं कि हमें चेंज क्या करना है. तो हमें डायनामिक नेम का जो स्टेट है उसको कुछ नए वैल्यूज में करना है. तो जब भी मैं क्लिक करूंगा, लेट्स हैव अ रैंडम नंबर जनरेटर. सो मैथ डॉट रैंडम, आई थिंक यही था, इनटू 10. तो हम लोग, so I'll show you what I mean by this. So when I do this, delete pizza, let's refresh this one time. Failed to compile. Have I written something wrong? Or let's just put a value to this. R capital था? Are you sure? I'm not sure. Let's just check it out. Nope. Math.random कैसे भूल गया मैं? How does math.random work? Okay. Anyway, so what I'm trying to show you is, let's say new name. This will work. We don't need to import math because that is a inbuilt JavaScript function. Anyway, so now if I click on delete card, you see the new name has occurred on the top. तो हमने क्या किया है, रेंडर होने के बाद स्टेट चेंज किया है, and that's why it is getting reflected. So for that, I won't need this. I don't want to change this. What I want to change is I want to delete or update this pizza place. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, हम लोग एक नया पिज्जा प्लेस लेंगे. I am going to replace the existing pizza place with the new value. Now I'm going to use another this dot state dot pizza places. I'm going to use another function which is called reduce. Something is similar to map, and reduce क्या करता है, वो हर एक वैल्यूज में चेक करता है जो भी वैल्यू इसको मिल रही है. सो इंडिविजुअल पिज्जा प्लेस जो भी मिल रहा है इसको, समथिंग सिमिलर. सो वॉट एवर इट इज रिसीविंग, अगर इसका कंडीशन ट्रू रिटर्न करेगा, if it returns true, what happens is it goes and sits inside this array. If it returns false, it will be removed from this array. It will not be saved. तो ये फंक्शन में हमें ट्रू और फॉल्स का कंडीशन चेक करना होगा. सो आई विल चेक रिटर्न वैल्यू और हम यहाँ पे सीधे कंडीशन चेक कर लेंगे. Okay, we can use filters as well. We can use filter, we can use reduce. So let's use, do you want to use filter? Filter does the same thing. So I'll use filter over here and check what happens. Okay, so for this, we will use filter. Filter does the same thing as well. And what it does is it returns only those things, it filters out everything that is not true, okay, which is false. So what I need to check is the ID that I have received and the ID of the things that we are iterating. So I will just check pizza place dot ID for individual is not equal to the ID that we have received. Why we are doing not equal to? Because we don't want to delete if the id matches. So as I said, this should return true. ठीक है? So this should return true. So when let's go from the top. When the first one comes into place, when the first one comes into place, let's say हमने fourth वाला ID click किया, we have clicked on the fourth ID, and first one comes, ID is 1 and the ID that we have received is 5, correct? So is it not equal? Yes. So the value becomes true. If it is not equal, this statement is becoming true. And if it is becoming true, then it will sit in the pizza places. Again, come the second one. It will iterate pizza place dot id for the second one. 2 not equal to 5. Yes. So it is true again. Yeah. So it will return true and it will sit here. As it reaches 5, 5 not equal to 5, it is false. Right? It is false. So it will go and sit in the pizza place. It will be filtered out from the pizza place. Correct? So this has filtered out this particular element. And now this new pizza place that we have is what we want as our new state. So I will take pizza places is equal to the pizza places I have created over here. Okay, so let's go and check it out. Refresh this. Let's refresh. Hopefully this works. So I want to remove this and it does remove. I want to remove this. It removes. It removes. It removes. Here and here. Everything is gone. Correct? Everything is gone. And if I refresh it, since we have the static data, it will reappear. So do you understand what we have done over here? And the reason we do not update the pizza places directly is because we don't want to change the initial state, right? We do not want to change the initial state. What we want to do is we want to replace the initial values with some new values. So यहाँ पे हमने क्या किया है, एक नया पिज्जा प्लेस बनाया है, क्योंकि ये क्या करता है कि हमारे एग्जिस्टिंग वैल्यू को नहीं चेंज करेगा. दिस इज गिविंग मी अ न्यू array, समथिंग सिमिलर टू our map function, which was also giving us a new array. It was not replacing or changing anything in the array that we are receiving. Using that array, we were creating a new array. Similarly over here, we are using the existing array to filter out everything and returning the values which we want and create a new array out of it. And then we are saying that जो भी ये pizza place वाला state है उसको नए state से replace कर दो. तो ये value को हमने change नहीं किया, इसको यूज करके एक नई वैल्यू बनाई और उसको रिप्लेस कर दिया इस कंप्लीट वैल्यू को. Yes, the new state will be created. Okay, and that is how your React works. Pretty cool stuff, right? Now we can delete them individually. जहां से जो कार्ड निकाल रहे हैं कोई भी कार्ड चला जाएगा. रिफ्रेश हो गया क्योंकि वो पीछे रिफ्रेश हो रहा था. So if I remove any kind of cards, it knows which ID I am deleting. It knows. So everything gets re-rendered. So whenever there is a change in the state, whenever there is a use of this dot set state, there is a re-rendering happening. So this re-render gets triggered every time there is a change in the state of the particular uh, component. So when re-render is happening, what is happening is it is again seeing these values, sending the new state values to this pizza, and it is rendering the new state values. Yes, so there is a way to watch all this happening. And for that, we use this developer plugin. I think most of you might have had it, but this is a developer plugin which you can install from the Chrome marketplace. Now, this what it gives us is the access to all the states of a component, all the props of a component, and it comes at the end called components. So once you install that plugin, you will see the values. So as you can see, it shows me the state and it shows me the current state over here. So let me refresh this. And the current state has all these values. ठीक है? तो अब अगर मैं इसको delete करता हूँ, you see it gets removed. If I try to delete this entry, this will remove here. But obviously we are developers and we are doing it from the code itself. No one is going to have ask their users to go install plugin, do this, right? That doesn't make sense. So what we are doing is we are updating the state. और यहाँ पे जैसे जैसे हमने अपडेट किया इसका भी स्टेट सॉरी इसका भी props अपडेट हो रहा है. So you see this is called as props, and in the apps this is the state, and there is no prop as such because हमने कोई prop इसको send नहीं किया. Pretty cool, right? So go ahead, install this plugin. It's called React Dev Tool from your Chrome marketplace and check it out, right? So I can go ahead and change the value over here as well. ऐसे लिखते हैं cool stuff. So if I do this, you see it is being changed. But obviously, ये थोड़ी देर के लिए ही रहेगा. And as soon as you refresh, it is gone. So getting it? How it works? Alright, हमने काफ़ी React पढ़ लिया है, तो अब I think आप लोग को एक काम करने को दिया जा सकता है. And that will be given to you. And I am going to share this code immediately so that you can start working with this code. So are you finding React easy, difficult, awesome, not so cool? What's your opinion on React? Do you like React? It will obviously get easy. It will always get easy as you go. First day में सब चीज difficult लग सकती है. All right, so let's check the status. Okay. ESLint cache. Git add. Git commit -m. And I will. Oh. I think I made a mistake. I should go outside this folder. Raj Kamal is married to React. Nice. Git commit -m React components and state. ठीक है? Git push origin main. There you go. You have your files for studying and getting married to the stuff. And I will see you guys on Tuesday. Okay, tomorrow we are not going to have any session because of some engagement, but we are going to meet on Tuesday. But I'm going to send you an assignment which you can work on tomorrow using the same concepts that we have talked about today. Okay? Yes, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. from Tuesday. Tomorrow there won't be any class. MongoDB अभी आएगा, React के बाद तो चलें. नहीं, ट्यूसडे से MongoDB में नहीं जाएंगे. React अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है. रिएक्ट में थोड़ा सा और काम बचा है और उसके बाद फिर हम लोग बैकएंड पे चलेंगे. ऑलराइट, चलो. So I hope you guys are having fun with the MERN stack. React कर लिया हमने, अब हम लोग Express, Node और Mongo पे जाएंगे धीरे धीरे, and you will have a fair bit of idea of how this works. Okay, so have a nice remaining Sunday. All the best for tomorrow. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Okay, so please send this information across for your batch if you know anyone, and we will meet on Tuesday. So ending the meeting, have a good day. Don't close. So I'm ending the meeting. I don't know what you guys are saying. Bye bye. See you tomorrow. It's okay. Today's attendance we can take care. 3 minutes, 80 minutes. We have already done 1.5 hours. So that is 90 minutes. अब तुम्हारे लिए मैं 3 मिनट थोड़ी ना बैठूंगा यार नितिन. It's okay. We'll talk about this. Okay, I'll see you. Bye bye.